There's a little bit of art, a little bit of science, and a little bit of history. All right, very excited. Hey, bud, you want that? Over the next 24 hours, I'm gonna build 2 things. I'm very excited to share that with you. So let's start with the history. My great-grandmother came from Finland and my other side came from Norway. My whole life, starting when I was a super young age, I've been very attracted to cold water. I'm talking when I was like 5 years old, I loved to play in the coldest water that I could find. When we would go to the desert when I was a kid and it was like 120 degrees and they're saying you can't play outside, I was always outside. I loved it and I had no idea why. It turns out that the Scandinavians have loved this combination of super, super hot and super, super cold for like thousands of years. This is way before it was a thing on the internet to get in cold water. All right, now that the history is out of the way, you want this? Let's talk about the art and the science. First, the art is that I get to build a couple things. 2 things being delivered. One, a cold plunge, the other, a sauna. Cold plunge comes fully assembled. The sauna, I have to build. Then I got some friends and my dad in town. They're gonna help, and then we'll get into the science later. All right. One of my favorite things about this whole process that I did not expect is that it just shows up and professional movers just set it wherever you need it set in place. It's that easy. I got old Steve Jarvis in the mix. And now, for the more technical people in the audience, a little bit of science. The science on both the hot exposure and the cold exposure is really clear. Here's just a couple bullet points on each. For the hot, I'm actually gonna pull up a little note from Dr. Andrew Huberman. Now, I'm not a doctor, do not take this advice, but Dr. Huberman talks about, for this one protocol, which is 20 minutes in the sauna 3 times a week, so 60 minutes of total exposure, is proven across the board reduces all-cause mortality, which basically means that you live longer because this improves your cardiovascular health so significantly. Now, of course, there's a dosage thing, like what temperature. The temperature from the science that I'm looking at says anything from 175 to 212. The sauna here, the plunge sauna, goes up to 230. Hotter is slightly better for you. Longer is slightly better for you, according to the science. But in addition to helping all the cardiovascular stuff, it improves mood. Endorphins are released. It reduces your stress and improves your stress response. And that's just on the sauna side. On the cold plunge side, you've heard me talk about this before, but of course, it's anti-inflammatory, right? Inflammation in the body is bad, therefore anti-inflammatory. Just had a bunch of spicy food, my nose is running. If you get a bruise, you put ice on it, it reduces the swelling. Well, if you put your whole body in ice, it is really, really good for it. And it also releases feel-good hormones like dopamine and increases circulation. My favorite part about being in cold is that I end up getting comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm telling you, I never love getting in that water when it's 37 or 42 or any cold water. I'm not looking forward to it, but the feeling that I get afterwards, when I do it, after I have done it, I feel good, and it makes me get more comfortable with this feeling of being uncomfortable, which I feel like is applicable to all sorts of areas of life. So regardless of what the science says, the punchline for me is that I've been doing both these modalities of heat exposure and cold exposure for a really long time, and I just feel great when I do it. I'm sure I feel great because of the neurochemistry in my body with both of those different modalities, hot and cold, but I just feel great. I don't get sick. I feel like my body feels like loose and can move. I just know it's good. My body craves it. No, I'm not a doctor. Do your own research, but I'm referencing other doctors. So the truth is, the stuff behind me, I've done the research. I think these are the best products on the market. And they're especially great, this balance of what you get and what you pay for. You can spend a lot more than these products cost. You can also get them for cheaper, but if you go cheaper, I feel like the quality hasn't been there. If you go a lot more expensive, I haven't seen that you get a lot of benefit for the extra dough. I feel like the Plunge folks really nailed the price quality balance, but you do not need to start with these products. Again, I've been doing this for my whole life, and really seriously probably for the last 10 or 12 years. And I've tried everything, right? It might be worth trying and starting off slowly and ramping up to something more like this, but if you can afford it, I feel like this is the right sweet spot in the market. So at the end of the day, it sort of feels like my ancestors in Scandinavia, they were onto something, and maybe, just maybe, that's why I was called to this. I am super aware that, you know, this has been, I would even consider it sort of trendy over the past half a dozen years, but the reality is that the science and my personal experience, and I think if you ask anyone who's really done a lot of this stuff, that the benefits are truly amazing, and the juice is worth the squeeze.